Welcome to another episode of Jasmine's First Impression Sports Talk. Tonight we're going to have a great conversation. We're going to talk about is Florida college football sports back? And we're going to see week one predictions and what we have. So let's get started.
Welcome to Jasmine Pollock's First Impression Sports Talk, the fastest growing sports talk show in the country. And now, here's your host, Jasmine Pollock.
Welcome back to Jasmine's First Impression Sports Talk. And to kick the night off, we're going to talk about the college football week one frenzy. For some teams, it was their second game, but my team, the Canes, that was the Gators, they had their first game of the season. So let's bring in my dad and Jeremiah. So we all are different Florida fans. My dad's a Florida State fan, and Jeremiah's a Seminoles fan or a Canes fan. So, Dad, I want to start with you. The Noles played LSU in New Orleans, and I want to know your reaction. I know that game was crazy. It was 24-25. Florida State won on a blocked extra point, which was insane. But Dad, what were your thoughts and reactions, and how did the Seminoles look to you?
For me, it's kind of some mixed emotions on the game. I was very excited that we got the win. Now, when you look at the game and you break it down, we could have actually blown that game open. There was a lot of miscues, especially that last play before where we fumbled in the red zone. Instead of trying to go up by 10, we going for a toss and fumble the ball. There were too many times in the game where I was like, man, we're right there, but we'll make a mistake or make a poor decision. And it could be it's early in the season. So these guys don't have a preseason. So, they could be shaking off some cobwebs. Luckily, through all the mistakes and miscues, we made it out with the W. So hopefully we learn from that. One of the things I'll say, I am excited about our defensive line. Our defense looks like it's going to be a problem because if you look at LSU's quarterback, he's a mobile quarterback. Any of these schools are going to have a problem with a quarterback that can run that way. And the way we still were able to get pressure, to get sacked, even though he got some big runs here and there, I just like the direction of our defense. Offensively, I think we're still finding our identity. Some of the deep balls that were thrown were some pretty balls. I like where we are at number 4 in the slot. I like him. I love number 80 for the Noles. And then we got a couple big receivers. So I'm looking forward to the season. I'm going to be optimistic, but I'm going to be be very careful because we got a couple tough games coming up, and I want to see how we match it because we don't know what LSU is right now. LSU
Right.
is typically one of your powerhouses, but we don't know who they are right now. So they had an opportunity to win the game. Luckily, our special teams pulled it out, so that's a beautiful thing. But we'll wait and see. But I am optimistic and excited.
And speaking of rich for LSU, they Brian Kelly, he made his debut with them yesterday. No, not yesterday, Saturday. And he was with Notre Dame for the longest time, so we wanted to see how they would develop under him. And of course, it's the first game of the season. Now, I do not like LSU. Obviously, I'm a Gators fan. They have to come to the Swamp in a couple of weeks, so we'll definitely see what they look like. For Florida State, when I saw them play their first game, I thought there would be more of the running team because they have 3 great running backs, and I'm surprised they didn't have as big of a game as they did in week one. I was really shocked, but I thought that was going to be Florida State's identity is running the ball with those 3 guys. They have 3 great running backs, and in the first game they won with just running the ball, and then obviously we saw them against LSU, the defensive line getting pressure and stopping the run, and then of course the receivers stepping up big time. So it's a lot of different things going on now. To my Gators, we played against number 7 Utah. We won 26-29. I was really excited about that. I was scared that whole game, I'll be honest, but it was, for me, I was really relieved to see how it went back and forth, and it felt like a new era had came back to Florida because we have a new coach, Billy Napier, a completely new coaching staff, and I was really anxious to see what they were going to do and how the team would look against a top 10 team. Utah was a team that's going to be talked about in the college football playoff, and they're the same team that battled Ohio State last year in the bowl game. So I wanted to see how we bounced back and how we played against them, and we played phenomenal. Our quarterback is legit. Richardson, I'm really excited about what he's going to do. He had 3 rushing touchdowns, one that he broke for, I believe, 50 to 55 yards. It was ridiculous. But defensively, I felt like we got tired at times, which I understand they was running the ball a lot with number 9. And then in the end, when we needed to play in the red zone, we got that pick. I was really excited about that. But I feel like the Florida teams are back. Do we want to say that, Jeremiah, to you? You know, the Canes, they hung 70 on Bethune-Cookman, which was no surprise. But are the Florida teams back now? Like, can we say that Florida State, Gators, and Canes are back?
Well, yeah, you can say that they are back because look at this. Just how the University of Miami played yesterday, they was looking like a whole, a top 10 team last time I looked, because just look how everything went from the beginning to the game and to the end of the game. Now, Bethune-Cookman, they tried to come out very high, especially against a ranked Miami team. But Miami, under Mario Cristobal, you just see that it's a different type of presence, a different type of culture there right now. Back to winning and not putting other things in the way, like a turnover chain and everything else. Of course, it came from us, but still at the same time, Miami is more about winning. We're not trying to put everything as other distractions and everything. You see that he had a lot of different players that came over from Oregon, and they're just lining up from receivers to to linemen and everything, because he is very big on defense. And when, like I said, defense always wins championships. And even for Van Dyke, our quarterback, he exceeded expectations, especially as last season, taking King's spot that used to be the quarterback, but he had a season injury last season, but he came into this training camp this year for the whole school, and then he earned that quarterback 1 spot. And right now he's just proven that he can take this team to different heights, even to get them to a higher place. And I just think that this is just one stepping stone. I know they have Southern Miss next week, and I just think, from here, they're going to keep learning and also getting better.
Yeah, I agree. What also I noticed about the Canes is they have really big physical receivers. Like, they have a lot of great tight ends too that I saw. And of course, Van Dyke, I think he's going to be very good for them. I think working under Cristobal, and even there, what we saw this past weekend is there's a bunch of new coaches now. There's a bunch of new coaches making their debuts at many different colleges. And it's going to be very interesting to see how these teams like flip the script. Like when we look at USC, when we look at the Gators, when we look at the Canes, when we look at LSU, there's a lot of guys who are new faces, new systems in these big schools. And a lot of the fan bases want to get back to that winning championships. When you think of USC, you think of championships. When you think of Florida State, you think championships. Gators, Canes, LSU, even those teams are built off of winning championships, and not just, okay, we'll go to a bowl game and call it a day. No, they're competing for championships. They want to be in the college football playoff. And speaking of the college football playoff, they're thinking about extending the playoff to 12 games, but we'll only see that in 2026. So, Dad, what is your reaction to that we have to wait that long for a longer college football playoff?
Well, I mean, everything comes down to the bottom line, dollars. So I'm not surprised about anything like that, because I'm sure they're still working out a lot. They're negotiating a lot of terms, because you have bowl games and different things like that. That's really money makers for the college football organization. So I would um I would say I'm not surprised. I would have loved to see the playoffs extended a long time ago. But hey, that's where we're at right now. So we kind of got to be happy with where we're at, or be content right now. But it's inevitable that that happens, because we keep having this argument every year of certain teams being left out of the play-in or able to play for the playoffs at all. And there's teams that, in some cases, that are undefeated, that don't even get in. So that'll definitely help with more, I would say, fair competition, and really give us a good look at some of these other teams that we may not look at, at any other time.
Right. I'm looking forward to it. I know we have to wait a long time. I'll be 26 by then. So that's going to be very interesting to see. Of course, I agree with you, Dad, when it comes to, I wish we could have seen that happen way beforehand, even when it first started. Like these 4 teams is getting redundant. I think we should have 8 teams. I think that what they should have did is start with the 4 teams and see how that worked, then extend to 8 teams. Then you can go to 12 and then so on and so forth. But it's going to be interesting to see. But Jeremiah, before we go to break, all the games we watched in the college football this weekend, what player or players stood out to you the most?
To be honest, it's Florida's quarterback. I am, I was watching this game with you actually, I would say yesterday. We was watching this game yesterday. And this game, just from start to finish, was very electrifying because of just his presence. I'm going to just say, of course, I'm not gonna, leave off the running back, but still, you just see the development in this quarterback just from how he came from last year to this year. The coach having so much trust in him, and him actually making the right plays at the right time, running for about 50 something yards when they was midfield, and then he saw that wide open thing to that touchdown. And also when he was on that 2-point conversion and he did that quick fade, it's just all about those key plays to get you to that win. And right now he just proves so much, and I would just have him to be the player of the whole week.
Yeah, he was actually named SEC's Offensive Player of the Week, along with our defender Brandon Cox Jr. So I'm excited. I'm very optimistic about my Gators. I think what I loved about Coach Napier and the coaching staff, they did not panic when it seemed like, oh, the Gators are behind. The time is getting. I felt like he stayed. He kept his composure and he had faith in the players. And I think we haven't had that in a long time. And even the commentators like Dan Orlovsky, he even mentioned that he brings a certain calmness to Florida that we haven't had in a very long time. And I'm really excited about that because it didn't seem like he panicked, like he didn't show emotion. Like, I have faith in my guys to go out there and execute, and they did. So I love Anthony Richardson. He on the big stage like that at home in a sold out crowd that we've had. That was the first time we had a sold out crowd in a season opener in school history. So that was a huge game against a top 10 team in Utah, who's talked about as being one of the Final Four contenders. I was really impressed at how he played, and he played smart football. So we'll definitely see what FSU, Canes, and Gators are going to do moving forward. The road gets tougher. We play the University of Kentucky. They come to the Swamp. So I'm really excited about what we're going to do. Hope Florida State, they beat whoever they play this weekend. And then, of course, the Canes. But that wraps up this segment. If you guys would like to be a guest on Jasmine's First Impression Sports Talk and see old episodes of past episodes, you can go to my website at jasmineonsports.com and also give your insight, give your comments. Who is your favorite college team? So that wraps up this segment. We'll be right back for more sports talk.
Renting is everything. It's style at your doorstep, off the runway and into your closet. It's every trend you've been dying to try and every designer you've yet to discover. It's wearing it your way every time and making it count everywhere you go. It's never worrying about what to wear because something new is always coming your way. That's why renting is everything. New styles, top designers, all for a flat monthly fee. Start your subscription at renttherunway.com.
Slow roasted over hickory fire and pulled by hand. This is the way pit pork has always been done. Pulled pork lovers, rejoice. The smoky old days are back at the Smoke Shack. From the creative team that brought you The Browning Project and Dead by Morning comes a new thriller that will change the way you look at white-collar crime forever. Falling from the Sky.
You're watching Jasmine Pollock's First Impressions Sports Talk. Be sure to join Jasmine every week for great conversation on the NBA, NFL, and a wide variety of sports topics. To see past episodes of First Impressions Sports Talk, go to YouTube and search First Impressions Sports Talk. You can connect with Jasmine on LinkedIn by searching Jasmine Pollock. And now, back to more First Impressions Sports Talk.
Welcome back to Jasmine's First Impressions Sports Talk. And the voices you just heard were from Kelly Johnson and Dion Hunter. If you would like voiceover work done for your projects, you can go to leonthomasgroup.com and get in contact with Leon to get voiceover work done. If you'd like to be a guest on my show and see past episodes of Jasmine's First Impressions Sports Talk, you can go to my website at jasmineonsports.com. And towards the end of this last segment, we're going to have our producer Jay give his predictions because he didn't get a chance to put in his predictions last week for the NFL season. So let's get into the predictions. Let's bring in my dad and Jeremiah. We're going to talk about week one. Week one starts this Thursday, I believe. So we're finally back. NFL is back. We got college football back now. NFL is finally here. We waited a long time for it. So, Jeremiah, well, I'm going to list, let's do this. I'm going to list the teams, our teams. We'll talk about other teams later. But we're going to start with the Packers and Vikings. So we played them. We go to Minnesota and play them. Jeremiah, who's winning that game and why?
I have the Packers winning by 6 points. I have them winning by 6 points because you already know, when it comes to the Vikings, they always try to give Green Bay a hard time. You know, divisional rivals and everything else. And, you know, they got Justin Jefferson and also Kirk Cousins over there. So I'm never going to put them down. But at the same time, the experience that the Packers have, I just don't think that LaFleur or Aaron Rodgers is going to let them lose that first game.
I like that prediction. I'm going with my team, obviously. But my concern is the receiving core. That's where we're going to see how these receivers look. We don't have Devontae anymore. I think Alan Lazard is going to make big strides. I think he's going to be our number one guy. Cobb is still there. I think Sammy Watkins will do some really good things. But I'm looking for the young receivers to step up. I'll say we'll win by a field goal. I'm going to go with field goal. And I believe, and I'm going to make this is a bigger prediction throughout the season. I believe our defense is going to be the best unit on the field. Dad, what do you think? Who is winning the Packers in the Packers and Vikings game?
Well, I definitely agree with the points. I do think that the Green Bay will win by a field goal because I'm just thinking about, hey, it's week one. The Vikings are going to come out, and we don't really know what the Vikings are just yet. But a person who's from my college team, Delvin Cook, should be healthy this year. But I do think that Aaron Rodgers will put together a last drive to put them in position to win by a field goal. I do believe that. But it's still week one. We're coming out of the preseason. There's going to be a lot. I think they're going to be shaking off some cobwebs because they're still going to have to get in the flow of the game full speed. So I do pick Green Bay to win by 3.
Okay, so Dad, me and you both said Packers by 3. Jeremiah, you say Packers by 6. So let's remember that. Next game, Bucks go to Jerry World to face the Cowboys. Dad, who is winning that game and why? What are you looking forward to in that game?
Well, so the thing, a lot of people will be like, "Oh man, we want to see what Tom Brady's going to do with these new weapons." What I've watched with my team, the Buccaneers, for the last 3 years, well, for a while since Tom Brady there, even when Jameis Winston's there, is how is our defense going to respond? To me, that's the bigger story because the expectations for the offense is already there. We expect the offense to come out. We expect him to do well. But I want to see what the defense has to say about it because there are a lot of times left out of the equation. And I want to see us established and running this game. I want to see the defense play. So I'm going to say that the Bucks going to win. I'm gonna go out in this game. We're going to win by 14 points.
Oh, I
It's going to be
was
a
going to say the
14-point
same
win.
thing. I was going to say
We'll
the
say
same
we're going to
thing.
win by 2 touchdowns. Yeah.
I have the Bucks actually, I'm going to extend it. I have the Bucks winning by 17. When I look at this Cowboys team, who is their number one receiver?
Well, CD Lamb supposedly, yeah.
CeeDee Lamb. Okay, he very good standout in college when he played at Oklahoma, but is he ready for that role? Because you forget Cedric Wilson, Michael Gallup, and Amari Cooper were there.
Uh-huh.
So of course it was easier for him to get his yards and different things like that because a lot of the tension's on the other guys. But now he's the number one guy. I don't really have trust in the Cowboys offense. I don't know if I don't think Zeke is going to be the same. I think what's going to happen is the Bucks are going to come out hot, I believe, and then the Cowboys probably in the third quarter are going to try to go on their little hot run, and they say, oh, they're coming back, and then Brady and them are going to close it out. That's what I think. Jeremiah, what about you? Who is winning Bucks versus Cowboys and why?
Again, I will have to go with the Bucks on this one. I would have them winning by 3 touchdowns, but I just think that during the garbage times, the Cowboys are going to try and score a touchdown at the end. It's going to happen that sort of way, but at the same time, the Bucks I feel like are going to dominate, and this is why. When it came to the Cowboys right here, even this offseason, they had so many linemen go down back to back, and you have so many injuries on their side. Not saying that things can't happen in those sorts, and of course things happen on the Bucs side, but that other side doesn't have Tom Brady. That other side doesn't have Godwin. The other side doesn't have that many experienced players. Now, I'm not saying that the Cowboys not going to try and come out the first quarter, start blazing and doing the field, but it's just about the composure of the Bucs and what the experience is like. I've been there before, and they remember what happened last year in the playoffs. They just want another taste of it.
I just feel like for the Cowboys, their offense is not going to be their stronghold this year. I think their defense is going to be better than their offense. I think their D-line is going to be very good with Micah Parsons leading the charge. But I really don't see the Cowboys really in this game. I just feel like Tom Brady and the Bucs, he has a lot of firepower. I think the defense is going to take a huge step. I don't see the Cowboys in this game. So we're all picking Bucs by a large margin. I got 17 points. Dad, you have 14. Jeremiah, you said how many touchdowns? 3?
I'm putting it down to 2 because, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So now let's go to Dolphins versus Patriots. So Jeremiah, you're the Dolphins fan. Let's see what's going to happen. Who is winning this game and why? And what is your point margin? How much do you think the team is going to win by?
Well, of course, I'm going to have my Dolphins by, I would say, 7 to 10 points. Only in this reason. I'm never going to put the Patriots down to where they're not they're a terrible team. They are not a terrible team. I feel like having Bill Belichick on that sideline, you have a great possibility of taking your team to a win or just even a win. But at the same time, what has been coming out in this training camp with so much destruction when it comes to Matt Jones and just not having the receivers right now that he did last year, and plus the dysfunction with the coaching staff right now on the offensive side. You have the special teams trying to call, offensive plays, and the defense is kind of all over the place, and it's frustrating Matt Jones. But they're also going to try and come to Miami early. I know a couple of days earlier to try to beat the humidity, but you already know when it comes to Miami, especially in Florida, when it comes in September, it is not the best, especially players cramping up and everything else like that. So it's going to be hard for that. And for the Dolphins on their side, I just feel like the offense is just going to be a new culture for them right now, doing more play action passes, Tua getting more loose. And I think this game right here is just like, a start of what is to come for Tua. I just think that, he's going to get his team within a 7 to 10 point lead.
So for me, I have the Dolphins winning this game also by 10 points. I see Mike's comment saying Dolphins don't have a quarterback. I believe Tua is going to take a big step. I know preseason is preseason. There are a lot of players, a lot of star players aren't playing, a lot of first string guys aren't playing. But what I saw him getting those extra reps in with learning his new offense under the new head coach Mike McDaniel. I keep mentioning to people, he was the offensive coordinator for the 49ers for the past couple of years. So he knows the philosophy of the Shanahan tree, and he's going to bring that to Miami. And he has the weapons to do it. I feel like on both sides of the ball, the Dolphins on paper are better than the Patriots, but you can never count out Bill Belichick and what he can do, and Mac Jones and that team. And then they add Devontae Parker, who is a former Dolphin, who was a former wide receiver for the Dolphins. But I have the Dolphins by 10. I think the Dolphins are going to win this game, and I think Tua's going to make a huge step this year. But this is just game one. 10 points, Dolphins. Dad, who are you picking?
Okay, so I'm going to pick the Patriots to win this game,
Okay.
and I'm gonna tell you why. So if you look at Belichick's history, you can say whatever you want about Belichick Brady, but Belichick's record against young quarterbacks is very good. And my whole thing is with Tua, we still don't know what you got with Tua. We still don't know what it is. We don't know what he's going to be. I do think the acquisition of the head coach coming over from the 49ers and bringing that offensive wrinkle, how he used Debo Samuels, will he throw some of that in there for Tyreek Hill? But one of the things I'll tell you, Belichick is a master at taking away what you're good at, and he's always been that. So my whole thought process is I see the Dolphins coming out and struggling because number one, young and excited, they're still going against the Patriots. They're still going
Right.
to have those butterflies. It's still going to be that aura of the Patriots. And I think that, but the Dolphins in history have played the Patriots pretty well on occasion in key games. So I wouldn't put that past them. But the reason why I just think the know-how of Belichick, and also Belichick doesn't let out too much of what he's doing. I wouldn't read too much of what's going on as far as a confusion standpoint with the Patriots because Belichick is a master at keeping in-house what his intentions are. So I don't think we can read too much into all this stuff about confusions because that's one thing the Patriots have been is an organized oil machine. And I don't
Mm-hmm.
think that's changed. And I hope that nobody else don't go in thinking, oh, the Patriots are discombobulated. I think that the Patriots are going to come out. I think they're still going to be a team that you're going to have to pay attention to just because of the excellence that they have. Now, until they put together consistent losing seasons, then we can start to say maybe the Patriots have fallen back. But right now, I'm not ready to say that just yet. So I think the Dolphins are going to have a tough time with the Patriots.
Okay, so Dad, you have the Patriots. Jeremiah, me and you have the Dolphins, and to the audience, definitely post your comments. Who do you think is going to win in this game? Because this is the game a lot of people are going to watch. They're going to see how Tua is going to look with Tyreek Hill and all the acquisitions. Now let's go to the Broncos. The Broncos play next Monday, and they play the Seahawks. So Russell Wilson is going back to Seattle to face his old team, his old system, and everything. So, Dad, you are a Broncos fan. Who is winning
Yep.
this game and why?
Well, man, I'm going with the Broncos. Straight up, we know why I'm going with the Broncos because I love the Broncos. I'm a Bucks fan, but I've always had a heart for the Broncos. Some of my favorite players come out of the Broncos. Now, one thing I'll say about Russell Wilson, um, Russell Wilson has gotten a bad rap the last couple of years, but I think it's more so about the Ravens than Russell Wilson. I mean, not the Ravens, more so about the Seahawks and Russell Wilson. I think that the Seahawks started losing their identity from defensively because you have to think when they had the Legion of Boom, it was a very difficult road for any offense, which gave Russell the ability to operate. But I still think Russell Wilson has that magic, and obviously the Broncos think so as well with what they just paid him in his contract. So I think that Russell Wilson has already built their stock and really increased who they are as far as the competition goes. And I think that just even if Russell Wilson's a shell of himself, the illusion or the thought of what Russell Wilson can do will keep defenses honest, which I think will give the Broncos some opportunities. And I still believe Russell Wilson throws one of the best, if not the best, deep ball in the league.
Mm-hmm.
And he does have some weapons and he has some studs at running back. And I do think the Broncos defense is going to be something to reckon with this year as well. So I'm looking forward to seeing what he does. But Russell is that X factor. I just want to see what he's going to do. But Russell, I still love Russell Wilson. I think he's going to do something with the
Absolutely.
Broncos. and he's excited. He's in a new
Yes.
system. He's excited and happy. So,
And another thing, he's healthy. He's got a much
mhm,
better O line than there was in Seattle, a much better team all around. I just think Russell Wilson still has a lot of years in the tank. I see him playing for a long time, um, and continuing to develop and continue being one of the best quarterbacks in this league. Because I feel like Seattle was starting to plummet as a team, but he was still Russell Wilson. So it was
absolutely,
time for them to depart. I'm still a Seahawks fan, but I know these few years that are coming are going to be those rebuilding years, those years of,
yep,
okay, what's the Seahawks identity? Who's going to step in? I know they have Drew Lock and Geno Smith up there. We'll see what's going to happen with that. We still have DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. So we still have very good young receivers that I feel can still play very good football. But I want to bring in Jay because I see the comments going crazy. So I want to bring in Jay, our producer, and see his predictions. So I'm gonna ask you about the Broncos and Seahawks. Then we're gonna get to the Steelers. So Jay, who's winning this game, Broncos or Seahawks?
Definitely the Broncos. I kind of like the Seahawks myself also, but they don't have the talent on the offense except the wide receivers.
Right. I agree. So we'll definitely see. I have the Broncos, but I'm gonna pick the Broncos by 7. I'm picking the Broncos by 7. But I feel like it's gonna be a bittersweet moment for Russell. The emotions are gonna be crazy because that's where he started. Everything started there, and then the fans is gonna be very emotional to him. So Jay, we're gonna get to the Steelers. What are you thinking about your Steelers this season? I know we didn't talk about it last show. So what is your expectations for this week and into the season?
Well, they did announce Mitchell Trubisky's a starting quarterback,
Yes.
which is good. I don't think Pickett was ready for it, so by week 3 or 4, I think he'll be in there. This week, their defense is going to have to carry them through the year because their offensive line sucks. I would love to say they're going to go to the Super Bowl, but they're going to go 8-9. The streak of
Cat says Jay Steelers.
there's Tomlin's streak of having winning records. It's going to end.
Right.
I
agree. I still think the Steelers are going to have a winning record this season. I feel they are a playoff team, maybe wild card more so because I still have the Bengals winning that division. But I think the Steelers, there's still some questions, but I think they're still gonna have a winning record because Mike Tomlin, he just finds a way to win. They just find some sort of way to win. So let's go to a team that you don't like, Jay. Jets versus Ravens. So I see there's a lot of Ravens fans everywhere. Leon, Mike, everybody. So Jay, I want to ask you, Jets versus Ravens, who's winning that? Go ahead.
Jets aren't going to have a winning record for 10 years. But here's my bold prediction, Leon. Ravens aren't going to make the playoffs either.
Okay. Leon, what do you think about that? Ravens not making the playoffs.
Number 1, the Ravens are making the playoffs. Okay.
Okay.
Number 2, I do think they're going to lose against Joe Flacco and the Jets on Sunday. I think they're going to lose. Now, I don't. All right, they're losing. I think because Lamar didn't play in the preseason games, I think that's going to affect them. That's why I picked them to. I picked the Jets Sunday, but I think after that, I'm looking at the Ravens going 13-4, 12-5, somewhere in that area. That's what I think is going to happen.
Wow, Mike says, Jasmine, you're kidding me. I will produce your show. Forget Jay. You all know Mike is a Ravens fan, so he's gonna go. He's definitely picking the Ravens. Dad, who are you picking? Jets versus Ravens, and that was a very interesting take that Leon just had based off of Lamar not playing in the preseason because we've seen before. Remember a couple years ago when Lamar won his MVP and they got the number 1 seed, and they decided not to. They took that bye, I believe, and it wasn't good for them. And when they came out and they took all their starters out their final game, Lamar and that offense was rusty. Do you think that's going to be the same thing we'll see this week, Dad? What do you think?
So, me, I root for Lamar Jackson. We all know that. I want to see him do well. We haven't seen a talent like him in the league since Michael Vick. I think that one of the things is with Lamar Jackson, there are a few things looming, like with his contract situation and those different things going on. Now, is that going to affect Lamar negatively? We don't know yet. If Lamar going to, hey, business as usual, come out and play. The problem I have, it's the same problem I have with the Jets. I mean, Flacco is a seasoned Super Bowl winning quarterback. He is. But with the Ravens, I have to see. It's kind of hard for me to predict this one because I have to see what Ravens we have. Because
Okay.
the Ravens, to me, especially last year, I think this year, what is their identity going to be? Like, is it going to be defense or is it going to be offensive driven? Are you going to be a running team? Are you going to throw? I mean, what are we going to be this year? Because I'm going to tell you this: with any athletic quarterback, it's going to come to a point where all that running is going to have to slow down. You still got to use it out of necessity, but I don't want to see Lamar getting beat up because he's already been nicked up. So now it's like, hey, we got to evolve and start figuring out how we can get the ball down the field. And with losing people like Hollywood Brown and guys like that, I'm kind of trying to figure out, what type of chemistry he's going to have and with some of the distractions. So I
Hmm.
will give the Ravens a slight nod in this one. I will. I will say the Ravens will win by probably a field goal. I think it's going to be a low scoring game. But I think the Ravens can pull that off just based off of, consistency. But I am anxious to see what they're going to be with Lamar this year with all the other controversial things going on with them not giving him his money. But I think they eventually will.
I have the Ravens winning by 3, but I like we said before the last show, the Jets are not going to be the Jets team that we're used to seeing. I feel like they have a lot of young talent on both sides of the ball. Of course, Joe Flacco is a veteran, Super Bowl winning quarterback. If people remember that at all when he was with Baltimore. But I don't think this is going to be the same Jets team that people are just going to score 4 touchdowns on or 3 touchdowns on. This is going to be a very battle tested Jets team, but I still have them having a losing season. But I definitely have the Ravens winning by 3. Now the big one before we get out of here, Jeremiah. I know we didn't get. We'll talk about the pick later, but Rams and Bills. That
Yes,
is going to be a huge game.
yes.
Jeremiah, who do you have winning this game and why? What X factors are you looking for in this matchup?
Wow, this one is very good because this is like the hardest one to pick. But I'm going to have to go with the Bills, and this is why. The Rams, like I said, I think a week ago, are coming off of a high, and they just won a championship, and to them, they just thinking, we're just gonna go into this and that's it. I think they're going at the beginning. I feel like they are going to miss sparks from Von Miller being there and other spots, and just that matchup against Ramsey and also what's called Diggs.
Mhm.
You just gotta love that they've been going against each other since since one was on the Jacksonville and the other one was on the Vikings. So they go way back, and of course that's an X factor one I am always looking forward to see because their rivalry is always big when they go up against each other. But I do have Josh Allen playing way better this game right here, and also just proving a statement at the beginning at the first game of this season.
I'm going to pick the Rams by 3. I'm gonna go out further than this. This game is gonna be a very offensive game. That's what I'm predicting. Even though the defenses, you have Von Miller on one side, and then you have, of course, Jalen Ramsey, Leonard Floyd, and of course Aaron Donald on the other. But how I'm looking at it and how the defenses, I feel the passing defenses of each team are not very good. I have this game. If I'm gonna say Rams. I think I'm gonna say 27-30 Rams. Dad, who are you picking and why?
Okay, so in this particular game, remember we didn't get a chance to see this last year.
Yeah.
These two teams could very well. I mean, of course, I'm not picking them to go to the Super Bowl, but they are in the Super Bowl conversation. I'm going to pick the Buffalo Bills, and it's for one specific reason. It is Allen's ability to get out of the pocket. That is the biggest thing to neutralize a hungry pass rush. And I think that's also going to give them the ability to keep some of them at home because if you break contain with a guy like him, he's going to make you pay. His athleticism is going to be the difference in the game to me. As far as I think if you look at the teams that have, I think the Bills have improved more than the Rams have improved in the offseason. Now, I was expecting the Buffalo Bills to utilize O.J. Howard, which they just cut, which was a real surprise to me. But I do think Josh Allen, because the strength of the Rams defense is their defensive line. And I think that Allen's going to find ways to really get out of the pocket, really neutralize what Aaron Donald could do in the middle. And I'm going to see how well the Rams, if they're going to try to run the ball, which I think
Mm-hmm.
that the Rams are vulnerable against the run game
I
if you stick
agree.
with it consistently. And I think that's the game plan they're going to come out with because if you look at Aaron Donald, when you give them guys the opportunity to just pin their ears back and go, then that's when he's at his best. You know, bull rushing and different things like that. But you got to keep them on their heels with consistent runs. And also, Allen extending drives with his legs is going to be big in this game. So I'm going to pick the Buffalo Bills just because, hey, Josh Allen, I'm going to pick them by 3 as well.
Okay, so you both have the Bills. I have the Rams, even though I don't like the Rams. I don't like them. Let's be clear. But I just, on paper, if we're matching up the team, I feel like the Rams have a much better team. Now, I saw a comment by Kat that was very, very interesting. So she said, if Aaron Donald doesn't have his way, yeah, right there. If Aaron Donald has his way, the Rams will win. But if Donald doesn't get to the quarterback, then the Bills will win. That's going to probably be a telltale sign based off of this. But we could say the same thing for the Bills. If Von Miller doesn't get home, because I just feel when I look at this the Buffalo's defense, I feel Von Miller is a great acquisition, but their secondary is very scary. Like not scary as in like not good. Like, we saw teams can go down the field on them, even with the Chiefs, them going back and forth. That's why I question the Bills defense, even though they add Von Miller. But that's a good read that I'm going to definitely look forward to. That's going to be the X factors. Probably, I think it's going to be now Aaron Donald, Von Miller. Can they get home on the quarterback? So we'll definitely see. But that wraps up this tonight's show. Thank you, Dad. Thank you, Jeremiah. I'm really excited for week 1 of football. NFL is officially back. We have football for a long time now until January and February. So let's just savor the moment and just enjoy football. So if you guys would like to be a guest on my show and see past episodes of my show, you can go to my website at jasmineonsports.com. We'll be here next week on Monday for more sports talk, and we're going to talk about week 2 of the NFL. So we'll see you next week. Good night.